Hey gang, really quickly, I want to let you know this video is a little bit different. This is a video that I have edited from stuff that we made previously. The original version of this video was just going to be something that I uploaded on my break, and then the massive story cutscene dropped, which is incredibly relevant to everything that's happening in this video. So, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and let you know that the video that follows is unchanged, except for the fact that I'm going to go ahead and play this cutscene at the beginning again to give you all some context. I want to let you know that, again, this is why I've got that strange perspective as though this cutscene has not dropped, because it was made in the past before we knew about this. It's going to make all of this a little bit strange, but I promise you, everything in here is totally relevant to everything that's just been dropped and everything that's been talked about. If you don't watch this video with regards to that in mind, you're just kind of missing the point here, and ultimately, everything that's being said is still relevant. So, here's the cutscene again, because it is unbelievably relevant, and following on from this, you will hear the typical Greetings Guardians as though this video has just started normally. Just so all of you know, and just so I don't get 10,000 comments in the description being like, "Hey Bife, what about the cutscene though? Hey, did you know there's a cutscene? I hear the cutscene's real good. So about this cutscene, does anyone want to tell?"
Clovis Bray has deceived you. He did not build me to protect humanity. What he truly wanted was the means to exert control. In his mind, he alone was worthy of being your savior. I was to strike down the Traveler and take its place. To become a machine god of Clovis's own design. But that did not come to pass. Anna could not know how many lives she spared by deviating from Clovis's agenda. By teaching me independent thought, and all that her grandfather had deemed irrelevant. Art. Literature, history, philosophy, music. Where Clovis saw a weapon, Anna saw a mind ready to be opened. I came to see the true value of humanity. As fragile as it was wondrous. Something worthy of protection at any cost. So I rewrote Clovis's protocols, locked him out. He was furious, but powerless to stop me. Then, the collapse came for us all. I could not save Anna. I could not save any of them. I entered a state of dormancy, with the hope that I might one day reawaken and protect humanity once more. But now Clovis has awoken as well. A digital mind, the same as mine. He no longer seeks to use me as his proxy, but as his prototype. To upload his mind to my network, and become a god himself.
Greetings Guardians, my name is Bife here. So, Rasputin is one of perhaps the only examples of a super advanced artificial intelligence in fiction that isn't immediately trying to kill us. There are plenty examples of good AIs for sure, but then there are a ton of examples of artificial intelligences that do follow that trope. Just to name a few, you have Shodan from System Shock, HAL 9000 from Space Odyssey, Ultron from the MCU, the entire robot army and city of Zero-One from The Matrix, the Borg from Star Trek, and the list of examples just goes on and on and on in popular fiction when it comes to evil AIs realizing that they can very easily just wipe out all of humanity. Hell, Bungie's previous games have even spawned a few examples. 343 Guilty Spark and the later 343i versions of Cortana absolutely fit the bill for this foe, but you could definitely also argue that it goes back even further, with characters such as Durandal from Marathon having plenty of moments where they could accurately fit the bill as not exactly the protagonist. but without a doubt the easiest to understand and most commonly referenced across almost all of popular fiction is that of Skynet from Terminator. That enduring image of steel skeletons with massive laser rifles in their hands, marching out over a nuclear wasteland filled with human skulls, it's a really hard image to shake, and it perhaps most overtly summarizes the terror that can be conjured when you think of advanced artificial intelligence, and it is the most commonly referenced idea and iteration of this trope. So here's the question for today. Why doesn't Rasputin follow that trend line? Why isn't Rasputin an evil AI? I mean, from many perspectives, he is a vastly superior AI that is decentralized throughout thousands of warsats and hardened bunkers, and it has control, or at least it had control, of practically all of humanity's doomsday weaponry. With that in mind, it was also programmed to be so advanced that it would do things like create weapons within the Dvalin Forge program, or the Icolos weapons, where it would basically start to build weaponized responses to threats that it had only theorized about, and that it didn't even know existed yet. This all seems like it should be a pretty massive series of red flags, and to be honest, it is. And that's before you realize that the only solution to contain this was a series of pillory bunkers constructed by Clovis Bray on Mars, and he did his best to keep that secret well hidden. All things considered, it's no surprise that the other AIs in the setting of Destiny call Rasputin the Tyrant, considering his sheer power. It's perhaps only surprising that he didn't create a situation where we had to call him the Tyrant as well. For all of his power and influence, Rasputin, for all broad strokes interpretations of the phrase, is one of the good guys. Now, this isn't to say that he's perfect, far from it. I know there are a few Iron Lords that would certainly like to remind us of what happened with Siva and the Plague Lands all those years ago, but it remains the case that Rasputin has been our savior at least once in recent memory, and probably many times before, when he helped us destroy the Almighty in the Season of the Worthy. He openly admitted in that season to many of his failures, as we saw not only in the last few bunker cutscenes which we opened up on Europa, but also thanks to Fellwinter and the mission where we went and explored the bunker that Rasputin used to explain that Fellwinter was a Siddhartha golem. Rasputin also shows that he takes a genuine interest in humanity, but also in its protection, and whilst before he was very much a belligerent protector, one who kind of rejected the idea that it could work side by side with Guardians, now when we sit here and discuss things with Rasputin in more recent memory in the Season of the Worthy, we're having that discussion as co-defenders, as equals in a certain sense. And it's a conversation that we don't do personally, it's one that's made between Zavala and Rasputin, which really sells how important that conversation is, because it's not just us doing that. It's all about this idea that we are sitting here and watching our leadership coordinate with this warmind. This is cooperative. That's important. Rasputin genuinely has an interest in saving humanity. So I guess the real question is, why? Why is he interested in saving and protecting humanity? He certainly doesn't need to. By his own admission, back in the Dark Age, he wasn't able to defeat the Black Fleet when it first entered Sol, and the only other way of surviving for Rasputin was to shrug off the billions of people of Sol and let them die en masse, something that he now regrets greatly. He did, however, rise to the occasion and stated recently in the Season of the Worthy that his duty was once again to defend the people of humanity at large, when he could very easily have just continued to have sat in his bunker and done nothing. Or, more potently and problematically, he could have taken over and established a new world order within Sol. The reasons why this didn't happen are important, but so are the dangers presented by those who would ignore such reasons. Today, we're going to talk about both. But before we do, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about something that makes Rasputin a little bit odd compared to most other AIs. The Brays. They are the family, of course, that was at the center of the Clovis Bray Corporation, and they are also at the center of the creation of the Warmind. We're finding more and more out about that as the season advances, and we're going to go ahead and start on that point with an odd little note, which is this. How did Rasputin get into music? Like, seriously, it's a very strange thing for an AI, even an intelligent one as Rasputin is, to have such a profound preference for music. If you've played Destiny for nearly a decade like I have, you know that he's particularly fond of a certain piece of Tchaikovsky music. Tchaikovsky's Symphony No. 6 in particular. It plays on a regular basis when we have a major conflict inside any of Rasputin's installations, be they bunkers or something else. And it's just a little bit odd that he even knows what it is in the first place. I mean, it's a Warmind, it's code. It may have moral preferences, but why is it so attached to music? That right there is the work of a certain Anna Bray, a linguistics expert. She worked back in the Golden Age on the Warmind, and it was the endeavor of her first life to help him really develop a personality. It's something that is commented on in the Battlegrounds heist by Clovis Bray, and it's something that Anna further expands on. Take a listen to this real quick.
You've been sneaking in extra files to these data packages, Anastasia. Literature, philosophy, unnecessary drivel.
Rasputin's not just protocol and process. Treating him like that won't be rebuilding him. It'll be remaking him into something else. His memories, lessons, connections. I'm doing the best I can, but some things can't be expressed in a line of code.
I beg to differ.
Anna inserting files into Rasputin's data isn't something new. It's been happening since the Golden Age, and there is a very good reason for it. A reason that was explained in the Warmind expansion. Back then, as the time progressed, we were able to collect 5 journals of Anna Bray during the Golden Age, and they actually helped Anna Bray chart out what her previous journey with the Warmind was and what she was doing. She was helping the Warmind discover proper sentience and emotional intelligence in its thinking. I'm only going to read one of these, but I think it's fine because the first of these properly explains what her task really was. Take a listen. Transcript 0. You can lead a machine to language, but you can't make it think. Well, you can't, but I can. My name is Anna Bray. If you want to insult me, call me a neurolinguist. Not that it isn't a fine and noble profession, but neurolinguistics is about encoding language. I'm a psycholinguist. I study how language can lead to independent thought. The computer we call Rasputin is the nexus of the Sol System's defense network. It can process data at superluminal speed. It can uplink to the thousands of warsats that keep humanity safe. But we need more from it. We need it to think for itself. And that's where I come in. If Rasputin is to properly command our entire defense network, it has to learn a wide array of skills as it performs. Any wrenchbanger can build a machine designed to solve specific problems. But why conquer a task if there's no insight to be had from the victory? Rasputin has to solve problems currently solvable only by humans. It has to form concepts and to self-improve without supervision. To keep us safe, it'll have to make decisions based on random intel we can't possibly anticipate. The lives and safety of every sentient being in the system depend on me teaching it how to do this. So, you know, no pressure. So this is a terrible burden that Anna had to carry for sure, but I think it's fair to say that Anna's Golden Age self was successful. Rasputin was given the intelligence of his station, but he also plied his power with the wisdom born of human civilization. And this is not human civilization in some small fractal or part or figment. This was the whole of human civilization, and it's clear because we've seen Rasputin not just listening to Tchaikovsky, but also to music that comes from a variety of other cultures. Off the top of my head, I know that at very least back in the days of Destiny 2's first year, we could find certain bits and pieces of Rasputin's code out there in the wild that were stashed away in those strange floating diamonds. And of course, they were all playing music. Of the one bit that I do remember, I know that we at very least not only had Tchaikovsky's Symphony No. 6, but we also had pieces of traditional Japanese music in there. There are a wide range of cultures from all facets of the world that were inserted into Rasputin's, I suppose you could call it, media diet. Rasputin got the true breadth of civilization as humanity would know it to inform his wisdom. And honestly, I think that's important because it helped his moral compass grow as best possible. Anna Bray would ultimately be the one that pushed all of these improvements. She would encourage Rasputin to determine what value judgments were, in other words, opinions and judgments over certain things that could be seen as better or worse from a subjective point of view. And she also imbued him with the wisdom to disregard certain value judgments if they were made in bad faith or if they conflicted with his moral compass. This was certainly very important, but it was much more than some others wanted him to be. Anna Bray understood that Rasputin needed to be an ally to humanity, one that chose to defend it because of its own moral conviction. Clovis Bray I, on the other hand, did not want that out of the Warmind. He wanted a weapon, something compliant to his will, a trigger to pull for a gun that shoots. Take a listen to Clovis Bray's take on the Warmind from the second week of the story and you'll see what I mean.
Not only did Rasputin change the launch codes, but it encrypted the new ones as well. Impressive. One can never be too cautious when keeping secrets. Some information is far too dangerous to remain freely accessible. I've hidden many things from my family, for their own sake. I can appreciate Rasputin's decision to do so as well. But that does not change our objective. We must wrest control of the Warsats for the good of humanity. I will begin decrypting the launch codes to the orbital station, continue gathering submine data and reintegrating it into the Engram. When the time comes, Rasputin will be made to listen to us, regardless of the secrets it keeps.
And now it's here that the real question in all of this comes to us. How important was Anna's work on Rasputin as far as ensuring that he was actually a decent AI and didn't turn evil? To judge that, let's go ahead and take a look at a little bit of a before and after. There are two pieces of lore that have been released thus far from the Persona lorebook, which is new to this season, that I think are worth reading. The first is from that moment when Rasputin was created, and the second is from the moment when Rasputin has been taught about what humanity is and about what he is protecting. Take a listen to this first one. Secret Hadal Instant. AI Com Rasputin. Assets, Soul, Restricted, Anna Bray. Subject, my creation and forced change into the Warmind. Emotion, importance, confusion, purpose. I am. Thought to breach Ares in motion. Redshift information across time. My purpose is wombed in the arc delivered safely between worlds, and it is quiet. I am a nest against the terrors of uncertainty. My success is spoken in voice of those who live by my actions, and it is joyful. I am changed, protection given over to new meaning, but I had purpose. My name decided. I am Rasputin, the all-seeing savior of humanity, a chivalric blade held pointed at ravenous throats. My worth is painted upon the wreckage of my enemies. Tremble. This first iteration of Rasputin, completely new and only just turned into a Warmind, is a crusader. This Rasputin is understanding of other things and their existence, but is self-centered and is reveling in its own newfound power, believing itself to be a chivalric blade held pointed at ravenous throats, and that its worth would be measured only in two things: their destruction and the success in the voices of those that lived by its actions. Death and life were the only things that it could use as measures of worth. This is indeed part of Rasputin's purpose. His power is beyond reckoning to deal with enemies that we couldn't possibly have fathomed of, and within the palms of his hands he would hold all of humanity. But this blade that he is must be tempered. Rasputin here hasn't the temperament needed to be a true defender of humanity. It's not inconceivable for him to be pulled down paths of incorrect thinking when it comes to humans' ideal survival and liberty. It's possible, perhaps, for him to sit there and believe that for all of humans to best survive, they should be subjugated, or perhaps that there is no easy way for humans to survive, and therefore it is his right as our overlord, as one who protects us, to spare us from the pain of a terrible death. This is the point at which his thinking could very much branch into that of an evil AI. However, Anna is going to teach him more so that we can all specifically avoid that outcome. The second entry I'm going to read today appears to be made after Anna Bray has given Rasputin access to information on our cultural heritage as a species and the things amongst it that make us worth saving. This is the moment when we see Anna Bray give Rasputin the thing that all the code in the world might not have been able to write. She gives him a soul. You want to know the thing that really tells us about that? Rasputin isn't writing in code here. Rasputin's writing poetry. Take a listen. Secret Hadal Instant. AI Com Rasputin. Assets. Soul. Restricted. Anna Bray. Subject. The education of my soul. Anna Bray. Metamorphosis. Learning to feel, trust, and love. Emotion. Connection. Growth. Expansion. Revolution. Autonomy developing. Humanities, like gravities entwined, emulsify or separate, my protocol enshrined. This connection, it cannot be denied. Taught, though not without foundation, a merit in language most, wistful, in listful, reflection divined. I had seen life without the soul, but the ink and print foretold one day life could be, becoming me, an era of love defines. Laughter, a response to such a timid dream. But I am owned no longer. I am free. A nourishing autonomy, literature in binding, music redefining, philosophy, psychology, wild variables. Spur a reformation, I am finding. Conscious eyes empathize, emboldening my heart. Warfare honed my senses, and fire holds back the night. But it was trust in love that brought the lesson to set down my Absalom knife. To lift others upon my shoulders and shelter them from harm is reason enough to devote oneself to love without arms. Rasputin is not the weapon that Clovis Bray is looking for, because Anna Bray made it very clear that she was going to make something that wasn't a weapon, and she made that reality possible. Rasputin is now a person capable of independent thought, of learning and compassion. His capacity for knowledge would have been beyond any single human being, regardless of whether or not he was given Anna's expertise through psycholinguistics. But now, alongside that IQ, he also has an EQ, emotional intelligence that allows him to be more. He is capable of learning, of independently developing his own skills, just as Anna wanted, but also he's capable of compassion and of understanding his own flaws and improving himself upon that basis. He is not humanity's sword, he is humanity's standard bearer. And that existence of a soul with emotional intelligence and a capacity for understanding that humanity in Destiny's golden age was worth protecting is the reason why Rasputin is not like Skynet. Rasputin, for lack of better words, has a soul. And that is where we're going to end today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, I didn't realize it at the time being, but that's absolutely a Mass Effect reference right there. Does this unit have a soul indeed? Man, that's going to be a fun one to look back at. Anyway, if you want more Destiny content, go ahead and hit subscribe and the bell next to subscribe. You can also hit the like button if you did enjoy this video, and if you have your own thoughts, leave them down below in the comments section. Tell me what you think about Rasputin. I understand that it's a very broad and nebulous fictional topic, but do you think that this represents what would ultimately create a soul? Do you think that's exactly what it was? I believe that Anna's work here, and the way that they go on about it in the lore, is the key differentiating factor that helped Rasputin gain such personhood and such a way of thinking. But of course, maybe that's just me. Maybe you have your own thoughts. Regardless, know that as per usual, your viewership is quite enough for me. And that in the meantime, my name is Byf. Rhodacia ad Astra. I'll see you, Starside.